A throne room stretches endlessly into shadow. Golden pillars rise toward a ceiling lost in darkness. And upon a throne, carved from obsidian and starlight, sits a man whose mere presence causes the air to tremble. His name is Kale Ashenward, and for 300 years he has ruled the celestial dominion as its supreme emperor. Beneath his reign, 1,000 kingdoms knelt. Mountains crumbled at his command. Dragons feared to cross his sky. He had achieved what no mortal before him ever could. He had touched immortality itself. But tonight, something is wrong. Kale's golden eyes narrow as he surveys the gathered court. Ministers, generals, high priests, the most powerful figures in his empire stand arranged before him in perfect formation. Their faces are masks of respect, of devotion, of loyalty cultivated across centuries. Yet Kale has not survived this long by trusting masks. He has survived by seeing the truth beneath them, and the truth tonight tastes like poison. His closest advisor, a silver-haired man named Varen, who has served him for 200 years, steps forward with a golden chalice, the ceremonial wine, the elixir blessed by the Temple of Eternal Dawn. Kale has drunk from this chalice 10,000 times before. Your Majesty, Varen says, his voice smooth as silk, to commemorate the 300th year of your glorious reign, may another 300 follow. The court echoes the blessing. The words wash over Kale like waves against stone. He reaches for the chalice, and in that moment, he sees it. A flicker, barely perceptible, the tremor in Varen's hand, the slight dilation of his pupils, the bead of sweat forming at his temple despite the cool evening air. Kale has killed men for less obvious tells than this. He takes the chalice, raises it to his lips. The court watches with bated breath, and Kale, in that suspended moment, realizes the full extent of what is happening. He traces the connections instantly, his mind sharper than any blade. Varen, General Mordecai near the eastern pillar, High Priestess Selene by the ceremonial altar, even his own son, Crown Prince Lucian, standing at the head of the royal family, his jaw tight with barely concealed anticipation. All of them, every single one, 300 years of absolute loyalty, and in a single night, they have all chosen betrayal. Kale drinks. The poison works faster than he anticipated. Even his immortal body, strengthened by centuries of cultivation, cannot resist this concoction. He recognizes its taste now, bitter beneath the wine's sweetness. Essence of the void lotus, blood of a dying god. They have spared no expense to ensure his death. The chalice slips from his fingers and rings against the stone floor. Kale's body begins to fail him. His legs give out first, then his arms. He slides from his throne, the supreme emperor of 1,000 kingdoms, falling like any common man. The court watches in silence. No one moves to help him. No one calls for a healer. Why? Kale forces the word through lips already growing numb. He directs it at his son, at the boy he raised from infancy, the boy he trained personally, the boy he loved despite never saying it aloud. Lucian steps forward. His face holds no malice, no triumph, only a cold practicality that Kale recognizes all too well. He had taught Lucian that expression himself. Because you would never die, Lucian says simply. Because 300 years was already too long. Because every generation born under your shadow was a generation that could never truly live. You were eternal, Father, and eternity is a cage for everyone else. Kale cannot argue. He wants to. He wants to rage against the injustice, against the betrayal, against the cosmic unfairness of it all. But some part of him, some quiet corner of his fading consciousness, understands. He had become too powerful, too permanent, a god among mortals, forever unchanged, while everything around him withered and passed. He had never considered that his greatest achievement might also be his greatest crime. As darkness claims him, Kale hears Lucian's final words. Rest now, Father. Your empire will survive. It will thrive. It simply no longer needs you. And the Supreme Emperor, who conquered death itself, finally dies. Except dying is not the end. Kale wakes to pain. Not the distant philosophical pain of his fading immortality, but immediate physical agony. His head throbs, his body aches. He smells something foul, a mixture of sweat and mold, and something else he cannot immediately identify. He opens his eyes. The ceiling above him is wooden and rotting. Water stains spread across its surface like disease. The room is tiny, perhaps the size of his former throne's platform, crammed with broken furniture and trash. A single window, cracked and grimy, lets in pale morning light. This is not his palace. This is not his realm. This is not anywhere he has ever been. Kale tries to sit up and immediately regrets it. His body does not respond correctly. It feels wrong, heavy in some places and weak in others, like wearing armor that does not fit. He forces himself upright anyway, gritting his teeth against the discomfort, and catches sight of himself in a cracked mirror leaning against the wall. The reflection that stares back at him is not the Supreme Emperor. It is a boy, perhaps 15 or 16 years old. Thin to the point of gauntness, with pale skin and dark circles under his eyes. His hair is a tangled mess of black strands, and his face, while structurally similar to Kale's former features, is soft with youth and marked with old bruises. Kale stares at this reflection for a long moment. His mind, still sharp despite everything, processes the impossible situation with characteristic efficiency. He has been reborn, reincarnated, transmigrated. Whatever term applies to the phenomenon of dying in one body and awakening in another. Such things exist in legends, in the stories whispered by mystics, and documented in forbidden texts. Kale himself had dismissed them as fantasy. It seems the legends were true. The door bursts open. A woman enters, middle-aged and haggard, wearing servant's clothing that has seen better decades. She carries a wooden bucket and a rag, and her expression upon seeing Kale is one of pure disgust. "Oh, you are finally awake," she sneers. The little prince rises from his filth. "Your mother requires your presence. Try not to embarrass the family further, though I suppose that would be asking for a miracle." She throws the rag at him. It hits his chest and falls to the floor with a wet slap. "Clean yourself. You have 1 hour." She leaves without another word. Kale sits in silence for several seconds. Then he reaches for the rag and begins to clean himself, his mind working through the situation with the same methodical precision he once applied to military campaigns. The woman called him Prince. That implies nobility, or at least a connection to it. She also mentioned his mother and the concept of embarrassing the family. The room's squalid condition and her contemptuous treatment suggest that whatever position this prince holds, it is not one of respect or power. A prince of a declining house, perhaps, or a prince in disgrace. Kale's lips twitch into something that might be a smile. Ironic. He was once the most powerful being in existence. Now he appears to be the lowest member of a minor noble family. As he cleans himself, fragments of memory begin to surface. Not his own memories, but the memories of the body he now inhabits. They come in flashes, disconnected and chaotic. A beautiful woman with sad eyes. A man with a cruel smile. A grand palace seen from afar, always from afar, never from within. And pain, so much pain. Beatings, humiliation, isolation. The boy whose body Kale now occupies was named Seraph Valerius, third prince of the Valerius kingdom. And by all accounts, he was the most worthless royal in 7 generations. Seraph possessed no talent for magic. His mana core, the organ that allowed nobles to channel power, was described as shattered, broken from birth, irreparable. While his brothers trained with legendary instructors, and his sisters cultivated in crystal towers, Seraph was confined to a remote estate, forgotten and despised. His father, King Aldrich Valerius, referred to him publicly as the family shame. His mother, consigned to the same remote estate, had grown bitter and cold over the years. His siblings, the few times they visited, treated him with open mockery. 3 months ago, Seraph's situation became even worse. During a rare visit to the capital, he had been publicly humiliated by his eldest brother, Crown Prince Marcus. The incident involved a failed magic demonstration, a crowd of noble witnesses, and words that echoed throughout the kingdom. "He is not merely talentless," Marcus had declared. "He is less than nothing, a stain on our bloodline. If he had any honor, he would remove himself from existence and spare us all the embarrassment." Seraph had returned to the remote estate that night and attempted exactly that. He had swallowed poison, crawled into this rotting room, and waited to die. And die he did. His soul departed, and in its place, the soul of Kale Ashenvord arrived. Kale absorbs all of this information with remarkable calm. A lesser being might rage at the unfairness of their new circumstances. A lesser being might despair at falling from the height of absolute power to the depths of absolute insignificance. Kale is not a lesser being. He stands, testing his new body's limitations. It is weak, devastatingly so. Seraph's muscles have atrophied from years of neglect. His joints ache from malnutrition. His lungs burn from the poison's lingering effects. But his mind is intact. His knowledge is preserved. 300 years of cultivation wisdom, military strategy, political manipulation, and arcane lore remain perfectly accessible. The Supreme Emperor's body may be gone, but his essence, his true power, resides in what he knows rather than what he was. And what Kale knows is that Seraph's shattered mana core is not actually shattered. The memory surfaces clearly now, a technique discovered in his 243rd year of reign. The inverse core phenomenon. Extremely rare, occurring perhaps once in 10 million births. It appears as a shattered core because the mana flow is inverted, cycling inward rather than outward. Standard magical diagnosis interprets this as damage because no one looks for what no one knows exists. But Kale knows, and if his suspicion is correct, Seraph Valerius does not have the weakest mana core in the kingdom, he has the strongest. The door opens again. The servant woman stands there, impatience radiating from every pore. Your mother waits, she says flatly. Kale, now wearing Seraph's face in future, walks past her without acknowledgement. He has worn many masks across 300 years. This one will be no different. Actually, he thinks as he descends creaking stairs toward whatever fate awaits. This one might be the most interesting mask of all. The remote estate of the Valerius Kingdom's third prince is less an estate and more a prison with decorative architecture. Kale observes this as he navigates its deteriorating halls, noting the strategic placement of guards at every exit, the lack of windows on the lower floors, the subtle magical wards embedded in the walls. Someone does not want Seraph to leave. His mother waits in what passes for a receiving room. Lady Alara Valerius, once considered the most beautiful woman in 3 kingdoms, now sits hunched in a chair that has lost most of its gilding. Her hair, still golden despite everything, has gone gray at the temples. Her eyes, when they rise to meet Seraph's, are filled with a complicated mixture of emotions. You survived, she says. There is no warmth in her voice, no relief, only a tired acknowledgement of fact. I did, Kale replies carefully, using Seraph's voice for the first time. It sounds strange to his ears, higher and weaker than his former bass. Apparently I am difficult to kill. Lady Alara's expression flickers. Something passes across her face, gone too quickly to identify. Your brother Marcus has sent word, she continues. You are summoned to the Royal Academy. Kale keeps his reaction internal, but this news is significant. The Royal Academy of the Valerius Kingdom is the most prestigious institution in the realm. Only the most talented nobles, the most promising mages, and the most politically important figures attend. Seraph, by all conventional measures, qualifies as none of these things. Why, he asks? Lady Alara's lips thin into a line. The kingdom faces crisis, she says after a long pause. The northern borders are under assault by the Darkwind Empire. The southern provinces are suffering a plague. The western mountains have awakened with monsters not seen in centuries. King Aldrich has declared a royal draft, requiring all noble children of appropriate age to report for potential military service. Even, she adds with visible distaste, children like you. Kale understands immediately. This is not opportunity. This is elimination. By forcing Seraph to attend the academy, they place him in direct comparison with the kingdom's greatest talents. His inevitable failure will provide legal justification for stripping him of his title, his lands, and his protection. He will be cast out, and no one will speak against it, because everyone will have witnessed his inadequacy firsthand. When do I leave? He asks. Tomorrow. Lady Alara stands, clearly expecting this conversation to end, but Kale does not move. He remains standing in the center of the room, his eyes fixed on the woman who bore Seraph's body, who raised him in isolation, who watched him suffer without intervention. Did you ever try? He asks quietly. Lady Alara freezes. Did you ever try to help him, to protect him, to give him anything besides this rotting prison and your cold disappointment? The silence stretches. Lady Alara's face cycles through emotions too quickly to track. Finally, something breaks behind her eyes. Her composure cracks like ice under pressure. You do not understand, she whispers. She does not elaborate, she does not explain. She simply turns and walks away, leaving Kale alone in the room. He lets her go. There will be time for answers later. Right now, he has more immediate concerns. The Royal Academy represents both danger and opportunity. Danger, because Seraph's enemies clearly intend to destroy him there. Opportunity, because the Academy provides access to resources, knowledge, and connections that this remote prison could never offer. Kale returns to his room and begins to prepare. The first step is physical rehabilitation. Seraph's body is devastated, but it is young. Youth means potential. Potential means room for growth. Kale knows exactly which exercises to perform, which pressure points to stimulate, which breathing techniques to employ. These methods come from his centuries of cultivation, refined through endless experimentation and practice. He works through the night. Push-ups become trembling efforts against gravity. Stretches become agonizing battles against atrophied muscles. Breathing exercises become meditations on the edge of consciousness. By dawn, Seraph's body has not transformed. That would be impossible. But it has taken its first steps towards something better. The second step is understanding his new magical situation. Kale sits cross-legged on the floor and turns his attention inward. He finds Seraph's mana core immediately, a twisted knot of energy located in his spiritual center. To an untrained observer, it would appear damaged beyond repair, a tangle of broken pathways and stagnant power. But Kale sees differently. He recognizes the inversion pattern now, the subtle reversal of energy flow that makes the core appear shattered. The power is there, massive amounts of it, but it cycles inward rather than outward. Instead of radiating mana like a normal core, Seraph's core absorbs it. This is why standard magical techniques fail for him. Every spell in common use requires outward projection of mana. Seraph literally cannot perform them. His core simply swallows the energy before it can manifest. But inward cycling mana has its own applications that Kale discovered long ago, in ancient texts that predated modern magical theory, applications that the contemporary world has completely forgotten. He begins the process of correcting the inversion, not reversing it, which would be dangerous and wasteful, but adjusting it, creating secondary channels that can project outward while the primary core continues its inward cycle. It is delicate work, requiring absolute concentration and precise control. By the time morning light fills his window, Kale has completed the first stage. His mana pathways are still far from optimal, but they function now in ways Seraph never experienced. Energy flows through his body in patterns both ancient and powerful. He tests his progress by attempting a simple illumination spell. Light magic, the most basic application of mana, the first spell taught to every noble child. A sphere of light forms above his palm. It wavers, flickering uncertainly, but it holds. For the first time since his death, Kale allows himself a genuine smile. The carriage that arrives for Seraph the next morning is the shabbiest vehicle in the royal stables. Its wheels are uneven, its curtains are torn, and the horses pulling it look like they should be retired. The driver, a sullen man with a perpetual frown, does not bother to help Seraph load his minimal belongings. Lady Ilara does not come to see him off. Kale climbs into the carriage without complaint. He has endured far greater indignities in his previous life. A bumpy ride to opportunity is nothing compared to the battles he has survived. The journey to the Royal Academy takes 3 days. Kale spends every moment productively. He exercises within the carriage's cramped confines, strengthening Seraph's body incrementally. He meditates, expanding his mana pathways and stabilizing his core. He reviews Seraph's memories, extracting every useful piece of information about the kingdom's political landscape. What he learns is concerning. The Valerius kingdom is not merely facing crisis. It is on the verge of collapse. The northern invasion by the Darkwind Empire has already claimed 3 major cities. The southern plague has killed tens of thousands. The western monster awakening has cut off crucial trade routes. And internally, the kingdom is fracturing along factional lines. Crown Prince Marcus leads the war faction, advocating for aggressive military action regardless of cost. Second Prince Aldrich supports the diplomatic faction, seeking treaties and alliances to buy time. Third Prince, or rather former Third Prince now that Seraph is apparently being phased out, would be Princess Helena, who controls the mercantile faction and its vast economic resources. King Aldrich, Seraph's father, maintains nominal control, but his health is failing. Rumors suggest he has perhaps 5 years remaining, possibly less. The succession battle has already begun in all but name. Into this powder keg, Seraph is being thrown as kindling. Kale cannot help but appreciate the elegance of the trap. If Seraph fails at the academy, he loses his nobility and becomes irrelevant. If Seraph somehow succeeds, he becomes a threat and will be eliminated by one faction or another. There is no winning scenario in the conventional sense. But Kale has never been conventional. The Royal Academy appears on the horizon during the 3rd day's evening. It is impressive, Kale admits. A massive complex of towers and halls, built upon a plateau overlooking the capital city, surrounded by magical barriers that shimmer with protective energy. The architecture blends aesthetic beauty with practical defense, creating a fortress that also happens to be a school. The carriage approaches the main gate, where guards in ceremonial armor check arriving students. Kale watches through the torn curtains as elaborate carriages, each more magnificent than the last, deliver the kingdom's elite youth. Their clothes shine with embedded enchantments. Their servants carry trunks of expensive equipment. Their bearing speaks of privilege and power. And then there is Seraph's carriage. The guard's expressions when it arrives are almost comical. One of them actually laughs before catching himself. Another whispers something to his companion, who snorts with poorly concealed amusement. Name? The senior guard asks, his tone dripping with condescension. Seraph Valerius. Kale replies calmly. 3rd Prince of the Valerius Kingdom. The guard's expression shifts. Not to respect, but to something else. Recognition. He has heard the stories. Everyone has heard the stories. Welcome to the Royal Academy, Your Highness, the guard says, the title laced with mockery. I am sure you will find your stay most educational. The gate opens. The carriage proceeds. The Royal Academy welcomes its most notorious new student. Registration occurs in the Academy's Grand Hall, a cavernous space designed to intimidate newcomers with its overwhelming scale. Kale navigates it with the ease of someone who once commanded halls 100 times larger. He joins the line of students waiting to receive their assignments, ignoring the whispers that follow him like shadows. Is that really him? The talentless prince? I heard he tried to kill himself. What is he even doing here? Waste of space. My father says he should have been drowned at birth. Kale catalogs each speaker's face and voice, not for revenge necessarily, but for information. The way people speak when they think no one important is listening reveals their true nature. The registration desk is staffed by a severe-looking woman in academic robes. She processes students with mechanical efficiency, barely glancing at each one before assigning them to their dormitories and classes. When Seraph's turn arrives, she actually pauses. Her eyes travel up and down his shabby clothing, his thin frame, his exhausted features. Seraph Valerius, she says flatly, not a question, yes. Her lips purse. She consults a document, then another, then a third. Whatever she reads there makes her frown deepen. You have been assigned to the outer dormitory, she announces. Class placement will be determined by tomorrow's evaluation examination. Your testing slot is at dawn. Do not be late. She hands him a key and a map without further comment. The next student pushes forward before Kale has even finished processing the information. The outer dormitory, he learns from the map, is the Academy's least desirable housing. Located at the edge of the campus, far from the central facilities, it houses students from minor noble families, foreign scholarship recipients, and those being quietly excluded from proper academy life. Seraph, it seems, qualifies for all three categories. The dormitory building itself is exactly as unimpressive as expected. 3 floors of cramped rooms, shared bathrooms, and minimal amenities. The walls show water damage from leaks that no one bothered to repair. The hallways smell of mildew and resignation. Students passing through speak in defeated tones, already accepting their marginal status before classes even begin. Kale absorbs it all with practiced detachment. He has inhabited palaces that would dwarf cities. He has commanded armies that stretch beyond horizons. A dingy dormitory is nothing. His assigned room is on the top floor, at the end of a hallway that smells faintly of mildew. He unlocks the door and steps inside. The room is small but functional. A bed, a desk, a wardrobe, a window overlooking the academy grounds. Someone has left a stack of papers on the desk, the standard orientation materials provided to all new students. Kale sets down his belongings, such as they are, and moves to the window. From here, he can see the central campus spread out below. The Tower of Mages rises in the distance, its crystal peak glowing with accumulated power. The combat arena sprawls to the east, its enchanted walls designed to contain even the most destructive sparring matches. The Library of Ages, said to contain knowledge from before the current era, dominates the western quadrant. So much knowledge, so much potential, so many enemies. Kale smiles again, that same thin expression he allowed himself when first casting his light spell. The evaluation examination awaits at dawn. The entire academy expects Seraph Valerius to fail spectacularly, to confirm every rumor and justify every insult. They have no idea what is coming. He turns from the window and begins preparing for the next day. There is much to do and very little time to do it. The Supreme Emperor has returned, and the world is about to learn what that truly means. Dawn arrives with frost on the windows and tension in the air. Kale has not slept. Instead, he has spent the night in continuous cultivation, pushing Seraph's body and mana core beyond their previous limitations. The progress is marginal but meaningful. Every small improvement compounds over time. He dresses in the cleanest clothes available, which is not saying much, and makes his way to the evaluation hall. The building is already crowded when he arrives. Hundreds of students mill about, sorted into groups based on their expected performance. The top tier, children of the highest noble houses with proven magical talent, gather near the front in their finest attire. They will be tested first, given the best slots, treated with maximum deference. Seraph's group is at the back. The leftovers, the afterthoughts. Kale takes his place among them without complaint. He observes his fellow bottom-tier students with clinical interest. Most are genuinely unremarkable. Minor nobles with modest abilities who will struggle to survive the academy's competitive environment. A few, however, catch his attention. There is a girl with silver hair and sharp eyes who watches everything with an intensity that belies her apparent disinterest. Her clothes are slightly too large, her boots slightly too worn, her posture slightly too controlled, a disguise Kale recognizes. She is hiding something. There is a boy with scarred hands and a haunted expression who flinches at sudden noises. Combat trauma, clearly. Yet he stands here, at the academy, which means someone believes he has enough value to salvage. There is another boy who simply radiates wrongness. His smile is too wide, his movements too smooth, his eyes too empty. Something is very off about him. Kale files away each observation for later analysis. The evaluation begins with the top-tier students. They perform admirably, as expected. Fire mages conjure impressive displays. Water mages demonstrate precise control. Combat specialists showcase powerful techniques. The instructors nod approvingly, recording scores that will grant these students access to the best resources and opportunities. Hours pass. The middle tiers are processed. Performance varies but generally meets expectations. The instructors grow bored, their expressions suggesting they are merely going through motions. And then it is time for the bottom tier. Seraph Valerius, the administrator calls, his voice carrying across the hall with obvious amusement. Please proceed to evaluation station 7. Kale walks toward the designated station. Conversations pause. Heads turn. The entire hall watches the legendary failure approach his inevitable humiliation. Station 7 is staffed by a single instructor, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a permanent frown. She has clearly drawn the short straw, assigned to evaluate the hopeless cases no one else wants to deal with. Seraph Valerius, she says, consulting her notes. Third prince. Previous magical evaluation, failed. Previous combat evaluation, barely. Previous academic evaluation, barely passing. She looks up. Are you prepared to proceed, or would you prefer to simply accept baseline placement and save us both the trouble? The question is not unkind. Exactly, it is practical. Everyone knows how this will end. Why bother with the formality? I would like to proceed, Kale replies quietly. The instructor sighs. Very well. Standard evaluation protocol. 3 components: magical aptitude, combat capability, and knowledge assessment. You will be graded on a scale of 1 to 10 in each category. Aggregate scores determine class placement. She gestures toward a crystal pedestal in the center of the station. Magical aptitude first. Place your hand on the crystal and channel your mana. Kale approaches the pedestal. The crystal is an evaluation tool, designed to measure both the quantity and quality of a mage's power. It has no bias, no politics, no preconceptions. It simply measures what is there. He places his palm against its cool surface. The crystal activates, glowing faintly as it begins its assessment. Kale feels it probing his mana core, following his pathways, cataloging his reserves. He allows it partial access, deliberately masking the true extent of his modifications. The glow intensifies. The instructor frowns, leaning forward. The crystal's reading climbs. 1, 2, 3, 4. The instructor's eyes widen. 5, 6. Whispers erupt around the hall. This is impossible. The talentless prince is showing actual magical aptitude. 7. The instructor stands up from her chair. Kale allows the reading to stabilize at 7.3 before subtly suppressing further output. High enough to shock, low enough to avoid excessive attention. Strategic, controlled. The crystal dims. The evaluation concludes. 7.3, the instructor says, her voice carrying in the sudden silence. She sounds like she does not believe her own words. Magical aptitude, 7.3. The hall erupts in confused murmuring. This does not match the stories. This contradicts everything everyone thought they knew. How? Someone demands. His core was shattered. Everyone knows his core was shattered. Kale offers no explanation. He simply waits for the next component. The instructor recovers her composure with visible effort. Combat capability, she continues, her tone now sharp with new interest. Proceed to the sparring circle. The sparring circle is a marked area designed for controlled magical combat. Kale steps inside and awaits his opponent. The instructor considers for a moment, then gestures to a student from the middle tier. Darren Westfall, she calls. Please provide Prince Seraph with a standard combat assessment. Darren Westfall is a stocky young man with obvious fire affinity. Flames dance around his hands as he enters the circle, his expression caught between confusion and contempt. Is this a joke? He asks the instructor. You want me to fight the talentless prince? The evaluation requires combat demonstration, the instructor replies evenly. Please proceed. Darren shrugs. His flames intensify, forming a sphere that hovers before him like a threatening sun. Fine, I will make this quick. He attacks. The fireball launches toward Kale with impressive speed and dangerous heat. Kale does not move. He watches the attack approach, calculating trajectory, estimating power, analyzing technique. At the last possible moment, he shifts slightly, allowing the fireball to pass within inches of his body. The heat singes his clothes, but does not touch his skin. Darren's eyes widen. That was not luck. That was precision. He launches another attack, then another, then a barrage. Fire fills the air, turning the sparring circle into an inferno. Kale moves through it like water through cracks. Each attack misses by the smallest possible margin. Each dodge is exactly as much as necessary, nothing more. He does not counterattack. He does not show aggression. He simply demonstrates with absolute clarity that Darren cannot touch him. The assault continues for 3 minutes, then 5, then 7. Darren begins to tire, his flames weakening, his breathing growing ragged. Enough, the instructor calls finally. Combat capability evaluation complete. Kale stops moving. Darren stands panting on the other side of the circle, sweat pouring down his face, confusion and something like fear in his eyes. Score, someone calls from the watching crowd. The instructor hesitates. She has never seen anything like what just happened. The prince never attacked, never used magic offensively, never demonstrated any traditional combat techniques, and yet he was completely untouchable. 8, she decides finally. Combat capability, 8. The murmuring returns, louder now. 8. That is higher than most middle-tier students. That is approaching top-tier levels. And he did not even fight back. What is happening? Who is this person? The final component is knowledge assessment. The instructor continues, her voice slightly unsteady. Please proceed to the examination room. The knowledge assessment is a written test covering magical theory, kingdom history, tactical principles, and various academic subjects. Kale completes it in half the allotted time. His score, 9.7. The aggregate total, 8.3. That places Seraph Valerius not in the bottom tier, not in the middle tier, but in the upper reaches of the top tier. His scores exceed those of most noble children, with decades of private tutoring and the finest magical instruction money can buy. The administrator who called his name with such amusement earlier now stares at the results with an expression of complete incomprehension. There must be a mistake, he mutters. Check the evaluation tools. Something must have malfunctioned. But there is no mistake. The tools functioned perfectly. The scores are accurate. And Seraph Valerius, the talentless prince, the family shame, the laughingstock of the kingdom, has just proven that everything everyone thought they knew was wrong. Kale allows himself a small, satisfied expression as he exits the evaluation hall. The game has begun, and the opening move belongs to him. Behind him, the academy buzzes with rumors that spread like wildfire. By sunset, everyone will know what happened. By tomorrow, everyone will be asking questions. And by the end of the week, Kale will have established himself as the most dangerous student the Royal Academy has ever seen. The Supreme Emperor has returned, and his rise has only just begun. News of Seraph's evaluation scores spreads through the academy like plague through a crowded city. By dinner, every student and instructor knows. By morning, the entire kingdom will know. The talentless prince scored in the top tier. The boy everyone dismissed as worthless outperformed children of the highest noble houses. Theories multiply. Perhaps his core was never truly shattered, merely dormant. Perhaps he has been hiding his abilities for years, playing a long game no one anticipated. Perhaps this is some elaborate scheme by his family to create a dark horse candidate for succession. None of these theories are correct, but they all contribute to the confusion. And confusion, Kale knows, is opportunity. His first day of actual classes begins the morning after evaluation. Top-tier students attend in the Grand Lecture Hall, a magnificent space designed to accommodate the Academy's elite. Kale arrives early, claiming a seat in the back corner, where he can observe without being observed. The other students filter in gradually. Most ignore him, their attention focused on navigating social hierarchies and establishing alliances. A few shoot curious glances in his direction, trying to reconcile the rumors with the unassuming figure sitting alone in the shadows. The instructor enters precisely on time. Professor Aldrich Thorne, according to the syllabus, specialist in advanced magical theory. He is tall and angular, with the bearing of someone who considers himself the smartest person in any room. Today we begin our study of mana circulation patterns, he announces without preamble, specifically the relationship between core structure and casting efficiency. The lecture proceeds with technical precision. Kale listens with mild interest, comparing the professor's knowledge to his own. The information is solid but limited, constrained by the current era's understanding. Several key concepts that Kale discovered in his previous life remain completely unknown. He takes notes anyway. Drawing attention to his superior knowledge would be counterproductive at this stage. The lecture concludes, and the class disperses. Cal gathers his materials and moves toward the exit. Seraph Valerius. The voice stops him. He turns to find 3 students blocking the doorway. The leader is a young man with golden hair and arrogant features, flanked by 2 others with the look of trained fighters. Kale recognizes him from Seraph's memories. Cassius Ashford, son of Duke Ashford, one of the most powerful families in the kingdom, known for his fire magic, his temper, and his close alliance with Crown Prince Marcus. You scored 8.3 on your evaluation, Cassius says. His tone suggests he finds this personally offensive. I did, Cal confirms. That is impossible. Your core is shattered. Everyone knows your core is shattered. The evaluation tools seem to disagree. Cassius's face darkens. He takes a step forward, flames flickering around his fists. I do not know what trick you used, but you do not belong in the top tier. You do not belong in this academy. You are an embarrassment to your family and your kingdom, and if you know what is good for you, you will withdraw immediately. His two companions flex behind him, their postures shifting to aggressive stances. They have done this before, Kale recognizes. Intimidated students, pressured them into compliance. The technique is well practiced. In another life, Kale would have incinerated all three where they stood. His former self did not tolerate disrespect, did not suffer fools, did not negotiate with those who dared to threaten him. But this is not his former life. And Seraph Valerius cannot afford the attention that such a response would generate. He chooses a middle path. Your concerns are noted, he replies calmly. Is there anything else? The response clearly surprises Cassius. He expected fear, pleading, perhaps anger. Calm acknowledgement followed by dismissal does not fit his expectations. You think you can just ignore me? Cassius demands, his voice rising. Do you have any idea who my father is? Who my allies are? One word for me and your life at this academy becomes hell. Kale meets his eyes without flinching. In another life, he commanded armies that would have crushed Cassius's family like insects beneath a boot. The boy's threats are, quite literally, insignificant. I understand your position, he says quietly. I understand your concerns, but I am here to learn, not to engage in political conflicts. If you will excuse me. He walks past Cassius before the young noble can respond. The two bodyguards move to intercept, but something in Kale's bearing makes them hesitate. He passes through the doorway untouched. This is not over, Cassius shouts after him. You will regret this. Kale does not respond. He simply continues walking, his mind already moving to the next challenge. The confrontation was inevitable. Cassius represents Crown Prince Marcus's faction, which has every reason to want Seraph eliminated. Now that Seraph has demonstrated unexpected capability, the threat he poses has increased exponentially. More confrontations will follow. More dangerous ones. Kale needs to prepare. The Academy Library becomes his refuge. The Library of Ages, they call it. And the name is not hyperbole. The building contains knowledge collected across centuries, organized by topic and protected by powerful enchantments that prevent unauthorized access. Kale's student credentials grant him basic access. He spends hours navigating the stacks, searching for specific information that might be useful in his current situation. What he finds is disappointing. The knowledge available to students is comprehensive but shallow, surface-level understanding without deeper theoretical foundations. The truly valuable materials, the ancient texts and forbidden research that Kale seeks, are locked away in restricted sections that require special permission to enter. He will need to earn that permission, or acquire it by other means. As he studies, he becomes aware of being watched. The silver-haired girl from the evaluation, the one with the disguise, sits at a nearby table with an open book she is not reading. Her attention is fixed entirely on him. Kale pretends not to notice. He continues his research, waiting to see what she will do. Eventually, she approaches. You are the surprise prince, she says without preamble. The one everyone is talking about. It seems that way, Kale replies. She studies him for a long moment. Her eyes are sharp, analytical, the eyes of someone trained to see through deception. You are not what you appear to be, she concludes finally. Neither am I. Perhaps we should talk. She sits across from him without waiting for permission. Up close, Kale can see subtle details that confirm his earlier observations. Her silver hair is dyed, traces of its original black showing at the roots. Her slightly too large clothes hide her true build. Her accent carries hints of a regional dialect she is trying to suppress. I am Seraph Valerius, he says carefully. You seem to already know that. And I am Elena Silverwind, she replies. Officially. Unofficially, my name is Vera Kessler, daughter of a blacksmith from the eastern provinces. I am here because someone saw potential in me and arranged a fake noble identity. If that ever becomes public, I will be executed. The honesty is startling. She has given him leverage, potentially fatal leverage, within moments of meeting him. Why tell me this? He asks. Because I need allies and you need information. I have been watching you. Your evaluation performance was impossible, which means you are hiding something significant. I do not care what. I only care whether we can help each other. Kale considers the proposition. Trust is dangerous, but isolation is worse. And there is something about Vera's directness that appeals to him. She has taken a genuine risk by revealing her secret. That kind of commitment deserves consideration. What do you want? He asks. Access to the restricted sections of the library. My current credentials are insufficient, but yours, as a prince, carry more weight. Combined with your evaluation scores, you could request expanded research permissions. And in return, I know this academy better than anyone. I know its secrets, its shortcuts, its hidden dangers. I can help you navigate the political landscape and avoid traps that would otherwise catch you unaware. She pauses, then adds, I also know who your real enemies are, not Cassius Ashford. He is a tool. The person who truly wants you destroyed is closer than you think. Kale's eyes narrow. This is valuable information, if true. Who? Vera shakes her head. That requires trust. Trust requires time. Are you interested in building both, or should I find a different potential ally? The calculation takes only seconds. The benefits outweigh the risks. And if Vera proves untrustworthy, well, Kale has dealt with betrayers before. I am interested, he decides. Vera nods, a small smile playing at her lips. Good, then we have much to discuss. The alliance forms in the quiet corners of the library, two outsiders finding common ground in their shared need for survival. Kale does not trust Vera completely, and she certainly does not trust him. But they understand each other, which is perhaps more valuable than trust. The game continues. The pieces move into position. And somewhere in the academy, unseen enemies begin to realize that their plans may not unfold as smoothly as anticipated. The semester progresses with deceptive calm. Classes proceed. Students study. The academy's routine absorbs even its most unusual members into patterns of normalcy. But beneath the surface, tensions build. Cassius Ashford has not forgotten his encounter with Seraph. He probes and tests, searching for weaknesses, coordinating with allies to make Seraph's life difficult in ways that cannot be officially punished. Library books disappear. Training equipment malfunctions. Rumors circulate, growing more vicious with each retelling. Kale endures it all without visible reaction. Each petty attack teaches him something about his enemy's methods and resources. Each rumor reveals who spreads them and why. Information accumulates, building a comprehensive picture of the opposition's structure. Vera proves invaluable during this period. Her knowledge of the academy's social landscape is encyclopedic. She knows which instructors can be influenced, which students have secrets worth discovering, which locations offer privacy for sensitive conversations. She also knows about the tournament. The Founding Day Tournament, she explains one evening, as they study together in a secluded corner of the library, held at the end of each semester to commemorate the Academy's founding. All students are required to participate in some capacity. The top performers receive significant rewards, including expanded privileges and instructor recommendations. And the bottom performers? Kale asks. Face increased scrutiny and potential expulsion. The tournament is officially about demonstrating growth. Unofficially, it is a culling mechanism. Students who fail to show progress are removed to make room for more promising candidates. Kale absorbs this information. The tournament represents both threat and opportunity. A poor performance could justify his removal from the academy, but a strong performance could establish him as a genuine contender, forcing his enemies to take him seriously. What are the categories, he asks. 3 main events. Individual combat, which tests personal magical ability and fighting skill. Team tactics, which assesses coordination and strategic thinking. And the mystery challenge, which changes every semester and is not announced until the day of the tournament itself. Vera pauses, then continues. There is also an unofficial 4th category, political maneuvering. The tournament is as much about alliances and sabotage as it is about actual skill. Last semester, 2 students were disqualified for cheating that was actually arranged by rival factions. The year before, a promising young mage suffered a convenient accident the night before his combat match. So the tournament is a battlefield beyond the arena. Exactly, and you, Prince Seraph, are a target that everyone wants to eliminate. Your unexpected success threatens the established order. Multiple factions have reason to ensure you fail spectacularly. Kale considers this. His options are limited but not non-existent. I need to train, he decides. Properly train, with access to real resources. The basic facilities available to students are insufficient. Vera nods slowly. There is a way, she says carefully, but it carries risk. Explain. She leans closer, lowering her voice. The academy maintains private training grounds for instructors and special guests. They are significantly better equipped than student facilities, with enhanced mana density, advanced sparring partners, and specialized cultivation tools. Access is technically restricted, but there are moments when security becomes lax. Between shifts, during certain events. And you know these moments. I know everything about this academy, she replies. including where the bodies are buried, figuratively speaking. Getting you into the private training grounds is possible. Getting you out undetected is the hard part. Kale weighs the risk. Discovery would mean punishment, possibly expulsion, but continuing with inadequate training means certain defeat at the tournament. The choice is clear. Show me the way, he says. They move through the academy after midnight when corridors are empty and shadows run deep. Vera leads with practiced ease, navigating paths that avoid both patrols and magical detection systems. Kale follows, his senses extended to maximum range, monitoring for any sign of discovery. The private training grounds are located beneath the academy's central tower, accessible through a series of disguised passages. Vera knows them all. She guides him through a maintenance tunnel, past a drainage system, and into a dimly lit chamber that opens onto something magnificent. The training space is enormous, at least 3 times the size of the student facilities. Mana saturates the air so densely that Kale can feel it pressing against his skin like warm water. Equipment lines the walls, much of it far more advanced than anything publicly available. And in the center of the space, glowing softly with accumulated power, stands a cultivation array that makes Kale's breath catch. He recognizes the design. It is an artifact from his era, thought lost centuries ago. The stellar refinement formation, capable of purifying mana to unprecedented degrees. In his previous life, he used formations like this to break through his final cultivation barriers. This changes everything. I cannot stay long, Vera whispers. The patrol schedule gives you 2 hours, maximum. Use the time wisely. She disappears back into the passage. Kale moves forward, approaching the formation with appropriate caution. It appears to be intact, though long unused. The academy instructors probably consider it decoration, unaware of its true purpose. He steps into its center and begins to cultivate. The effect is immediate and overwhelming. Pure mana floods his pathways, filling his modified core with power that surpasses anything he has accumulated since his rebirth. His body strengthens, his mind sharpens, his abilities expand in ways that would normally take months of dedicated practice. The formation's energy wraps around him like a living thing, sensing his inverted core and responding with increasing intensity. Normal cultivators would be overwhelmed by this much purified mana. Their cores would reject it, their pathways would rupture, their bodies would fail. But Seraph's inverted core is designed to absorb. It drinks the formation's output greedily, converting raw magical energy into refined internal power at speeds that would shock any magical theorist. Kale guides the process with the precision of someone who has performed similar cultivation thousands of times before. His first circuit completes. Energy settles into his dantian with satisfying density. He begins the second circuit immediately, pushing harder, demanding more. The formation responds, its output increases, the chamber fills with light so intense that it would blind anyone observing. 1 hour passes, then another. Kale's consciousness expands beyond his physical form, touching the boundaries of the formation itself, sensing its ancient construction and the secrets embedded in its design. He learns things that the Academy's instructors do not know, techniques encoded in the formation's matrix by its creators millennia ago. Among these secrets, one stands out. The formation was not built for training. It was built for war. For preparing warriors to face something terrible, something that required cultivation speeds far beyond normal possibility. The ancient builders clearly anticipated a threat that would demand rapid power development. They designed this formation to create warriors in weeks rather than decades, to compress decades of cultivation into months, to give ordinary mages the power to face extraordinary dangers. Why? What did they know that this era has forgotten? The realization troubles him, but he files it away for later investigation. Right now, the training continues. 2 hours pass in what feels like moments. Kale emerges from the formation transformed. Not physically, though his body does feel lighter and more responsive. The transformation is internal. His mana reserves have tripled. His control has refined to a precision that matches his previous life. His potential, which was already significant, has elevated to a level that even he finds surprising. Seraph's body, it seems, was far more valuable than anyone realized. The inverted core that everyone dismissed as damage is actually a gift beyond measure. It absorbs and concentrates mana with efficiency that normal cores cannot match. Combined with Kale's knowledge and the formation's purification, the result is a cultivation speed that defies conventional understanding. He needs to return here, frequently. Until the tournament, every moment of secret training will compound his advantages. Vera is waiting at the exit. Did it help? She asks. More than you know. She studies his expression, then nods. Good, because the tournament is in 3 weeks, and your enemies are not waiting quietly. The final stretch begins. Kale trains in secret, pushing his newfound capabilities to their limits. He attends classes normally, maintains his cover as a surprisingly capable but not extraordinary student. He allows Cassius's faction to believe their harassment is effective, playing the role of beleaguered outcast while preparing something far more impressive. Vera provides intelligence. The silver-haired girl has sources everywhere, eyes and ears among servants, instructors, and students across all factions. She reports that Cassius is planning something significant for the tournament. That Crown Prince Marcus himself has taken interest in Seraph's fate. That forces are aligning against the Third Prince in ways that go beyond simple academic competition. And she finally reveals the name of his true enemy. Princess Helena. She says one night as they review tournament preparations. Your sister, the one controlling the mercantile faction. Kale frowns. Why would she target me? I have no resources, no political power. I pose no threat to her position. Not directly, Vera agrees. But your existence complicates her narrative. She has spent years building the story of the Shattered Prince, the family's great tragedy. She uses your failure to generate sympathy, to position herself as the capable alternative to her disappointing siblings. If you succeed, her carefully constructed image crumbles. The revelation is troubling but logical. Kale reviews Seraph's memories with this new context, identifying moments that now make more sense. The isolation, the neglect, the deliberate exclusion from family events. Helena's influence is everywhere, subtle but pervasive. She is the one who arranged for me to come here, he realizes. She wanted me to fail publicly to confirm the story she has spread. Yes, but your evaluation scores ruined that plan. Now she needs a new approach. Which brings us to the tournament. Kale nods slowly. The picture is complete. Helena will attempt something during the tournament, some scheme to ensure his defeat or disgrace. He needs to be ready. The preparations intensify. The countdown continues. And on the morning of the Founding Day tournament, Seraph Valerius steps into the arena knowing exactly what awaits him. Let them come. The Supreme Emperor has faced worse than ambitious princesses and political games, and he has never lost a battle that truly mattered. The tournament grounds occupy the Academy's eastern quadrant, a massive complex of arenas, observation platforms, and preparation chambers. Thousands of spectators fill the stands, including nobles from across the kingdom who have traveled specifically for this event. The atmosphere crackles with anticipation. Kale surveys the crowd from the competitor's entrance. He identifies the key figures without difficulty. Crown Prince Marcus, golden and imposing in the royal viewing box. Princess Helena beside him, her expression carefully neutral. Duke Ashford near the front, watching with predatory interest. Cassius on the competitor's side, surrounded by allies, shooting occasional glares in Seraph's direction. And there, in a secluded corner of the stands, sits Lady Seraph Valerius, his mother, the woman who abandoned Seraph to his fate for years. She has come to watch the tournament, though her expression gives nothing away. Kale sets aside the distraction. There will be time for complicated emotions later. Right now, he has a tournament to win. The opening ceremony proceeds with appropriate pomp. The Academy headmaster delivers a speech about excellence and tradition. The judges are introduced, all senior instructors with reputations for fairness. The rules are announced, though everyone already knows them. And then the individual combat rounds begin. The format is straightforward, a bracket system where opponents are matched through a combination of evaluation scores and random assignment. Winners advance. Losers are eliminated. The final contestant standing in each tier earns the highest honors. Kale's first opponent is a young woman named Sarah Whitmore, a fire mage from a minor noble family. Her evaluation score was respectable but not exceptional. She approaches the arena with nervous confidence, clearly hoping to make a name for herself by defeating the controversial prince. The match begins with the referee's signal. Sarah attacks immediately, launching a sequence of flame bursts designed to overwhelm through sheer volume. The technique is competent but predictable. Kale has seen variations of this approach thousands of times across hundreds of years. He moves through her assault like wind through leaves, deflecting what cannot be avoided, avoiding what cannot be deflected. His movements are economical, almost lazy, conserving energy while demonstrating absolute superiority. Sarah grows frustrated. Her attacks become wilder, more desperate. She attempts a concentrated fire lance, pouring most of her remaining mana into a single devastating strike. Kale sidesteps and taps her shoulder as she passes. It is a light touch, almost gentle, but it carries a pulse of precisely calibrated mana that disrupts her internal energy flow. Sarah stumbles, her flames sputtering out, her body suddenly refusing to respond properly. She collapses to her knees, not in pain, but in complete magical exhaustion. Kale has drained her reserves through that single touch, a technique so advanced that none of the observers even recognize what happened. Winner, Seraph Valerius, the referee, announces, confusion evident in his voice. The crowd's reaction is mixed. Some applaud, others mutter, most simply stare, trying to process what they just witnessed. Kale exits the arena without celebration. He has proven nothing yet. Sarah was never going to be a real challenge. The difficult opponents await in later rounds. The tournament continues. Kale advances through his bracket with systematic efficiency. His opponents grow stronger as the rounds progress, but none present genuine difficulty. He defeats them all without revealing the true extent of his capabilities, using the minimum force necessary, maintaining the appearance of someone who is talented but not overwhelming. His second opponent is a water mage named Devon Ashworth, cousin to one of the kingdom's most influential noble families. Devon approaches the match with calculated precision, clearly having studied Seraph's previous performance. He keeps his distance, using ranged attacks to probe defenses, searching for weaknesses. Kale allows him to search. For 3 minutes, he dances through Devon's increasingly desperate assault, demonstrating defensive capability without revealing offensive power. Then, when Devon commits to a massive water dragon technique that drains most of his reserves, Kale simply walks through the attack. The water parts around him like it has a mind of its own. Devon's eyes widen in disbelief. His greatest technique, the culmination of years of training, has been rendered completely ineffective. Kale closes the distance in a heartbeat and taps Devon's forehead with 2 fingers. The same mana disruption technique he used against Sarah, precisely calibrated to incapacitate without injury. Devon collapses. The crowd roars. His third opponent is more challenging. A lightning mage named Elise Thornwood, daughter of the kingdom's premier magical research family. Her attacks come at the speed of thought, crackling bolts that should be impossible to dodge. Kale dodges them anyway. His body moves with the fluid grace of someone who has spent centuries refining movement into art. Elise throws everything she has at him, technique after technique, combination after combination, each assault more desperate than the last. She is genuinely talented, he observes clinically. In another decade, with proper guidance, she could become formidable. But right now, she relies too heavily on speed and not enough on strategy. He waits for her to overextend, then strikes. One touch, one pulse, one defeated opponent. The pattern repeats through the quarterfinals. Each victory builds the legend. Each display of seemingly effortless superiority reshapes the narrative. By the time Seraph Valerius reaches the semifinals, the entire academy has abandoned its preconceptions about the talentless prince. Something has changed. Something has awakened. And no one knows exactly what they are witnessing. The commentary among observers shifts as the day progresses. Initial skepticism gives way to grudging acknowledgement. Seraph Valerius is not merely surviving the tournament, he is dominating it. By the time the semifinals approach, the entire academy is watching. Kale's semifinal opponent is Cassius Ashford himself. The bracket has aligned, whether through coincidence or manipulation, to create this confrontation. The golden-haired noble enters the arena with supreme confidence, his fire magic blazing around him like a corona. So Cassius calls across the arena. The talentless prince has made it this far. I admit I underestimated you, but this is where your journey ends. Perhaps, Cal replies calmly. The match begins. Cassius is genuinely skilled. Kale acknowledges that immediately. His fire magic is potent, his technique refined, his power substantial. In another circumstance, against another opponent, he would be formidable. But he is facing someone who conquered empires before Cassius's great-grandparents were born. The battle escalates quickly. Cassius unleashes his full arsenal, fire techniques that turn the arena into an inferno. Kale counters each attack, not with magic but with pure movement and tactical positioning. He forces Cassius to chase him, to waste energy, to grow increasingly frustrated. Fight back, Cassius demands, his composure cracking. Stop running and fight. Kale stops running. He faces Cassius across the scorched arena and, for the first time in the tournament, goes on offense. His movement is a blur. Cassius barely has time to register the approach before Kale is inside his guard, hand pressing against his chest. The mana pulse that follows is devastating, a concentrated burst that overloads Cassius's pathways and ruptures his connection to his magic. Cassius screams. His flames die. He collapses, twitching and helpless. The arena falls silent. No one speaks, no one moves. Winner, Seraph Valerius, the referee announces, his voice shaking. Kale withdraws his hand and walks away. He does not look back at his defeated enemy. He does not acknowledge the crowd's stunned reaction. The statement has been made. The finals approach. One match remains. And Kale's opponent, he learns with some surprise, is the haunted boy from the bottom tier, the one with scarred hands and trauma in his eyes. His name is Marcus Thorne, no relation to the professor, and he has advanced through his bracket with brutal, relentless efficiency. The final match is set for the next day. Kale uses the intervening hours to study his opponent, preparing for whatever challenge awaits. But as night falls, he receives an unexpected visitor. Lady Alara stands at his door, her expression unreadable. "We need to talk," she says, "about what you really are." The conversation happens in Kale's room, with the door secured and privacy wards activated. Lady Alara sits in the single chair while Kale remains standing, maintaining distance and defensive positioning. "You are not my son," she begins without preamble. Her voice is steady, factual. "You have his face, his body, but the person behind those eyes is someone else entirely. I recognized it the moment you spoke to me differently, the day you left for the academy. Seraph never had the courage to challenge me. You did." Kale considers his options. Denial seems pointless given her certainty. Offense might be necessary. "If you believe that," he says carefully, "why have you not reported it?" "Because I want to know what you intend." He studies her face, searching for deception. What he finds instead is exhaustion. Decades of it, layered beneath her composed exterior. "You want to know if I am a threat to this kingdom," he concludes. "I want to know if you are a threat to my remaining children," she corrects. "Seraph was already lost to me. Whatever happened to bring you here does not change that. But Marcus and Helena and Lucian still live. If your presence endangers them, I need to know." The mention of his children catches Kale's attention. He knew about Helena. He knew about Marcus the Crown Prince. But Lucian? "Lucian was your other son?" he asks. Seraph's memories are incomplete. Lady Ilara's expression flickers. "Lucian died 8 years ago. He was 5. A sickness that spread through the capital. Seraph barely survived it himself, but Lucian was too young. Grief, old but still raw, surfaces briefly before she suppresses it. Since then," she continues, "I have focused only on protecting what remains." Seraph's existence complicated that. He was a constant target, a weakness that our enemies could exploit. I tried to protect him by isolating him, by making him irrelevant. I see now that I only made things worse. "You gave up on him," Kale observes. "I had no choice." She meets his eyes directly. "I am not asking for forgiveness. I am asking for understanding. And I am asking what you intend to do with the body you have claimed." Kale considers the question seriously. This woman has shown remarkable perception and practicality. She deserves an honest answer. "I intend to survive," he says finally. "Beyond that, I intend to become powerful enough that survival is no longer a concern. I have no desire to harm your remaining children, unless they move against me first." "Helena already has," Lady Ilara points out. "She orchestrated your presence at this academy. She hoped you would fail spectacularly and provide justification for her political position. Then Helena should revise her plans. But I will not seek revenge unless she forces me to." Lady Ilara nods slowly. "That is more than I hoped for," she admits. "Whoever you were before you became Seraph, you could have pursued destruction. Instead, you have shown restraint. That earns you some benefit of doubt." She stands, preparing to leave. "Win your tournament," she says at the door. "Prove beyond any question that you belong here. After that, we can discuss longer-term arrangements." She leaves without waiting for a response. Kale stands alone in his room, processing the conversation. An unexpected ally, perhaps, or at least a potential one. The situation grows more complex with each passing day, but that complexity will wait. Tomorrow, the final match demands his attention, and he intends to make it unforgettable. The final match of the Founding Day tournament draws the largest crowd in Academy history. Every seat in the arena is filled. Observers hang from balconies and crowd into standing areas. The pressure of collective attention is almost physical. Even visitors from distant kingdoms have arrived to witness this spectacle, the talentless prince facing the survival prodigy. Two impossible stories converging in a single contest. The betting markets have exploded with activity, though no one can agree on odds. The royal viewing box is at maximum capacity. Crown Prince Marcus sits at the center, his expression carefully neutral, but his eyes burning with interest. Princess Helena maintains her composed facade, though those who know her well can detect the tension beneath. Duke Ashford whispers urgently with his allies, no doubt recalculating political equations that suddenly include variables no one anticipated. And in a secluded corner, almost unnoticed, sits Lady Seraph Valerius. Her eyes never leave the arena floor. Kale enters from the east. Marcus Thorne enters from the west. They face each other across the marked ground. Marcus is shorter than Kale, stockier, with the build of someone who has survived through pure physical toughness. His scarred hands flex as he studies his opponent. "You are different," Marcus says quietly. Like me. Perhaps, Kale replies. I was not supposed to be here, Marcus continues. I was supposed to die in the eastern provinces, fighting monsters that should have been handled by real soldiers. I survived. I made it to this academy. I will not lose now. The declaration carries weight. This is not bravado but promise. Marcus Thorne has clawed his way up from nothing, and he will not surrender that progress easily. Kale respects that. He has known many warriors across his centuries of existence. The ones driven by desperation are often the most dangerous. The match begins. Marcus attacks with immediate ferocity. His magic is earth-based, brutal, and direct, sending stone spears and ground waves across the arena. The techniques are rough, self-taught, lacking the polish of noble instruction. But they carry tremendous power, the power of someone who has fought for every breath since childhood. Kale deflects and evades, reading his opponent's patterns. Marcus does not fight like a trained mage. He fights like a survivor, adapting constantly, pressing every advantage, never allowing recovery time. The exchange escalates. Marcus summons a construct of stone and earth, an animated golem that charges alongside his magical barrage. Kale is forced to split his attention, dodging physical attacks while countering magical ones. For the first time in the tournament, he faces genuine challenge. Marcus presses harder. His attacks grow more desperate, more creative. He tears chunks from the arena floor and hurls them as projectiles. He creates walls and barriers to limit Kale's movement. He coordinates his golem with precise timing, forcing engagement on two fronts. The crowd watches in breathless silence. This is a battle worthy of the tournament finals. Kale decides to end it. He stops evading, plants his feet, faces the incoming assault directly. Marcus's eyes widen. His attacks converge. Stone spears and golem fists and earth waves all targeting Kale's stationary position. Kale raises one hand. The technique he uses is ancient, lost to this era, known only to those who walked the world before recorded history. The 1,000 Years Palm, it was called. A strike that concentrates internal energy into a single point of contact. His palm meets the lead stone spear. The result is instantaneous. The spear shatters. The shockwave propagates backward, destroying everything in its path. The golem explodes. The earth waves collapse. Marcus himself is thrown across the arena, slamming into the far wall with bone-jarring impact. Silence descends. Marcus lies motionless. Healers rush forward. The referee approaches cautiously. Winner, he announces, voice barely above a whisper. Seraph Valerius. The crowd erupts. Cheers, gasps, confused shouting all blend together. The third prince, the family shame, the talentless disgrace, has won the Founding Day tournament in the most spectacular fashion possible. Kale lowers his hand. He looks up at the royal viewing box where Crown Prince Marcus and Princess Helena sit with carefully blank expressions. He has sent his message. They will not underestimate him again, and if they choose to escalate, well, he has barely shown a fraction of what he can do. The tournament concludes with ceremony and celebration. Kale receives his rewards, enhanced privileges, and instructor recommendations that will open doors previously closed to him. He accepts the accolades with appropriate humility, allowing the Academy to believe they have witnessed the rise of an unexpected talent. Only Vera, watching from the shadows, understands the truth. What happens now? She asks later, when the crowds have dispersed and the arena stands empty. Now we prepare for the consequences, Kale replies. Helena will not accept this outcome. Marcus will not ignore the threat I represent. The conflicts are just beginning. He looks out at the Academy grounds, peaceful in the fading light. But for the first time since my rebirth, I face them from a position of strength. That makes all the difference. Vera nods slowly. You really were someone before, she says. Someone important. I can see it in how you move, how you think, how you fight. I was someone, Kale agrees. Now I am someone else. Someone who intends to become even more. He turns from the window. Rest while you can, he advises. The next phase will be far more dangerous than anything we have faced so far. He leaves her with that warning, returning to his chambers to plan and prepare. The Supreme Emperor has won his first major victory in this new life. But victory is only a beginning. The real battles lie ahead, and Kale Ashenverd, reborn as Seraph Valerius, intends to win them all. Months pass after the tournament. Kale's reputation transforms from cautious curiosity to genuine respect. Students who once mocked the talentless prince now seek his advice. Instructors who dismissed him now request his presence at advanced seminars. The Academy, for all its rigid hierarchies, responds to demonstrated excellence. But not everyone accepts the new reality. Cassius Ashford has recovered from his defeat. Though the psychological scars run deep, he has become obsessed with revenge, training relentlessly, recruiting allies who share his grievances. His faction grows, fueled by resentment and the resources of Duke Ashford's considerable wealth. Princess Helena has adjusted her strategy. Unable to destroy Seraph through failure, she now seeks to co-opt him. Invitations arrive regularly, opportunities to join her mercantile faction, to share in her network's benefits. The offers are generous, almost suspiciously so. Kale declines them all. Crown Prince Marcus watches from a distance, his intentions unreadable. He has neither supported nor opposed Seraph directly, maintaining strategic ambiguity that keeps all parties uncertain. And then there is the mystery that Kale has been quietly investigating since his arrival. The Academy hides something. He sensed it from the first day, a presence in the depths of the campus that his enhanced awareness cannot fully penetrate, something ancient, something powerful. Something that may relate to why he was reborn in this particular body, in this particular place, at this particular time. His investigation leads him through restricted archives, forgotten passages, and conversations with those who know more than they should. Vera assists where she can, her network providing access that Kale could not achieve alone. Slowly, the pieces come together. The Academy was not built as a school. It was built as a containment facility. Beneath its foundations, sealed by wards that predate recorded history, lies a being of immense power. The creature has many names in different mythologies: the Sleeper, the Forgotten One, the World Breaker. It arrived on this world millennia ago, during an age when gods walked openly and magic flowed without restraint. It was defeated, barely, by a coalition of the world's greatest heroes. But it could not be destroyed. Its essence was too fundamental, too woven into the fabric of reality itself. So they imprisoned it instead, binding it beneath what would eventually become the Academy. The records Kale uncovers are fragmentary but consistent. 7 champions faced the creature at the height of its power. 3 died in the initial confrontation. 2 more fell during the sealing ritual. Only 2 survived, and both were changed forever by the experience. One became the founder of this kingdom's royal line, his blood forever altered by exposure to the creature's essence. The other vanished into obscurity, her fate unknown. The Academy was built to maintain the seals, to house the descendants of those who understood the threat, to prepare defenders should the creature ever escape. But generations passed. Knowledge was lost. The institution became merely a school, its true purpose forgotten by all but a scattered few. The wards are weakening. Kale discovers this through careful analysis of the campus's magical infrastructure. The containment formation that holds the creature requires constant renewal, energy provided by the Academy's accumulated mana. But centuries of misuse and neglect have degraded the system. What should have been maintained has been forgotten. Within 5 years, perhaps less, the seals will fail entirely. When that happens, the creature will wake. And when it wakes, this kingdom, this continent, this entire world will burn. Kale stands before the sealed chamber deep beneath the Academy, his creator's eye piercing through layers of ancient protection. He can feel the presence within, vast and terrible, dreaming of destruction. This is why he was reborn here, not coincidence. Not fate, something far more deliberate. The system, the power that governs his new existence, did not choose Seraph Valerius randomly. It chose a vessel positioned at the precise location where catastrophe will emerge. It gave him knowledge and abilities specifically suited to address threats that no one else even knows exist. He was sent here to save the world. The realization settles over him like a mantle. 300 years as emperor taught him many things, but one lesson stands above the others. Power comes with responsibility. Those who can must act. Those who do not are complicit in the consequences. He cannot ignore this threat, even if it means revealing himself, even if it means abandoning his carefully constructed plans, even if it means facing something that may exceed even his considerable capabilities. He must try. The challenge ahead is immense. He needs resources far beyond what he currently possesses. He needs allies he can trust completely. He needs knowledge that has been lost for millennia. He also needs time. Time to cultivate. Time to prepare. Time to transform this frail body into something capable of facing a threat that destroyed civilizations before this kingdom even existed. The mathematics are unforgiving. His current power level, while impressive by this era's standards, is nothing compared to what the creature represents. Even at his peak in his previous life, he would have struggled against such an opponent. Now, starting from weakness, the gap seems insurmountable. But Kale has spent 3 centuries learning one crucial lesson. Every insurmountable challenge can be overcome with the right approach. Every impossible situation contains hidden possibilities. Every defeat is merely a delay, not an ending. He will find the way. He has no other choice. The sealed chamber pulses behind him, the creature's dreams bleeding into reality in ways that only someone of his sensitivity can detect. Soon, others will notice. Soon, the secret will emerge whether the Academy is ready or not. But he also has something his past self never possessed: purpose. Clear, unambiguous, beyond question. Kale turns from the sealed chamber and begins the long walk back to the surface. The world does not know what is coming, but he does, and he will be ready. Time accelerates after this discovery. Kale trains with renewed intensity, pushing his cultivation to heights that should be impossible for someone at his apparent level. He recruits cautiously, selecting individuals whose loyalty and capability meet his exacting standards. Vera becomes his second in command, her intelligence and resourcefulness proving invaluable. Marcus Thorne, healed from the tournament but changed by the experience, joins after a conversation that reveals surprising depth beneath his survival-hardened exterior. The silver-haired girl, the scarred warrior, and the reborn emperor. An unlikely alliance, but one forged in genuine understanding. Each member brings something unique. Each contributes capabilities that complement the others. Together, they form the nucleus of something far greater than any of them could achieve alone. Others follow, students and instructors who sense that something significant is building. Former enemies who recognize that the coming crisis transcends petty rivalries. Even Lady Alara has adjusted her stance considerably since that first conversation. She still does not trust him completely, nor does he trust her. But they have reached an understanding, a working relationship built on mutual interest rather than affection. In many ways, it reminds him of his relationships with advisors in his previous life. Practical, effective, safe. A network forms, a force gathers. Preparations begin. The Academy's end-of-year ceremony arrives, marking Kale's official completion of his first term. He stands among his fellow students, accepting accolades that once seemed impossible. The talentless prince has become the term's highest achiever, a position no one could have predicted and few can explain. But his mind is elsewhere. Beneath the ceremony's celebration, beneath the Academy's ancient stones, the creature stirs. Its dreams grow more vivid. Its presence grows stronger. The timeline accelerates. 3 years, he estimates. Perhaps less. Not enough time. Never enough time. But it is the time he has, and he will use every moment of it. The ceremony concludes. Students disperse for the summer break. Kale remains behind, watching the sunset from the Academy's highest tower. So much to do, Vera says, joining him at the railing. So much riding on our success. Yes, Kale agrees. But I have faced impossible odds before. The secret is refusing to accept impossibility. And if we fail? He considers the question seriously. Then the world ends, he says simply. But we will not fail. I did not survive death itself to give up now. She studies his profile. This man who wears her friend's face but carries the soul of someone ancient and terrible. You really believe that, she observes. I have to. The alternative is unthinkable. The sun sets, darkness claims the Academy, and somewhere far below, something stirs in its endless sleep. The story continues. The stakes could not be higher. The Supreme Emperor has shed his old life like a worn cloak. He has accepted the body of a despised prince, the limitations of a new world, the challenges of enemies he never anticipated. But through it all, his essential nature remains unchanged. He is a conqueror, a survivor, a force that bends reality to his will. Those who dismissed him will learn the cost of their mistake. Those who plotted against him will discover that their schemes were always doomed. And those who would threaten his new world will face the wrath of someone who has already destroyed empires. The weak prince was never weak. He was waiting, building, preparing. Now the preparation ends. The rise begins. And Seraph Valerius, once the weakest prince, now perhaps the only hope his world possesses, prepares to face the greatest challenge any being has ever known. The night stretches long over the Academy. In dormitories across the campus, students sleep, unaware of the forces gathering in their midst. In noble estates throughout the kingdom, power brokers scheme, blind to the larger danger. In the depths beneath ancient stone, something stirs, its dreams growing darker with each passing moment. But in one small room, a reborn emperor plans his next move. His allies grow stronger, his resources accumulate. His understanding of this world and its secrets deepens with every passing day. The countdown has begun. 3 years to save a world. 3 years to build an army. 3 years to prepare for a confrontation that will shake the foundations of reality itself. It is not enough time. It will never be enough time. But it is what he has. And Kale Ashenboard has never let insufficient time stop him before. If you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button. There is so much more of this journey to explore, and the battles ahead will only grow more intense. Until next time, keep watching, and remember that even the weakest among us can rise to become something extraordinary.